sanctioning countries all around the world, stealing the Russian assets, funding the Ukraine to the tune of 260 billion, letting the country fall apart the way that it has, having the head of the Secret Service say we didn't put someone in that roof because it was slanted. Hopefully, when they missed, it went the other way and they all got their ass handed to them.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, there was someone there shorting Truth Social.
Yeah, well, just like you had the exact same thing, as horrible as it is to say, with United and American Airlines the day before 9/11.
Yep.
And so is it too stupid to be stupid, or was it planned? That would be the question I would ask. That's the question I'd want to know more than, am I really one of the only people who has the nerve or the stupidity to say this is all planned? It just could we really be that far gone to think that all of these things that we have done and allowed to happen would not have ramifications? I mean, listen to this, man. Just to give you an example of the ramifications. Here's a list of companies that have recently exited or have just announced plans to leave San Francisco: Nordstrom, Old Navy, Banana Republic, Gap, Target, Anthropologie, CB2, Crate and Barrel, Amazon Go, Saks Fifth Avenue, Office Depot, Walgreens, CVS, Westfield, Cinemark, Hollister, Adidas, the Lego store, Macy's closing its 95-year-old store, L'Occitane, Sephora, the North Face, Starbucks, First Republic, and AT&T. That's a list of 25 companies that said we're gone. Right. And what does the Cloward-Piven theory talk about? Remember, we talked about the Cloward-Piven theory? The Cloward-Piven theory is something that people need to read. And I strongly suggest it. Google it. It's Francis. It's Richard Cloward at Cloward.
Real World Asset Wealth: How to Protect Your Wealth from the Upcoming Financial Impact. Download this brand new report for free and get instant access to our resources. Click the button below the video now.
And Francis Piven, and they were professors at Columbia. I'll just read four topics or four key points of the Cloward-Piven theory, and you say to me, is this shit happening? Number one, overloading the welfare system. The strategy suggests that by enrolling large numbers of people in the welfare programs, in particular in the large cities, and a large amount of people, how about 20 million? The system would become overwhelmed and eventually collapse. This would create a political and social crisis that would necessitate substantial reforms. Number two, creating a political crisis. The goal was to generate a crisis significant enough to push the government to adopt more radical measures and address poverty and inequality. The number 1 and 2 economic advisors of the U.S. government, Jared Bernstein, who advocates for losing the reserve status, and the modern monetary theorist, Lael Brainerd, both are MMT theorists, are both inclusionary economists, meaning redistribution of wealth. Number 3, advocating for guaranteed income, redistribution of wealth. Cloward and Piven proposed that the ultimate solution to the crisis would be the implementation of guaranteed annual income for all citizens, ensuring a minimum standard of living and reducing poverty. 4, mobilization and activism. The strategy emphasized goals to create a new loyal voting bloc out of the rapidly increasing number of welfare recipients and their children who can all be counted on to vote for larger government in the future. Well, that sounds like where we are. 20 million people. They're not going to vote for Trump, who wants to deport them all. You think about the cloud. Who went to Columbia? Obama and Jared Bernstein, along with Madeleine Albright, Bill Barr, Eric Holder, the current Secretary of State. What's his name? Eric. What's that? Yeah, Bilkin. All of these people went there. Blinken, whatever. They all went there. And does that mean that they understand the theory? I don't know. You tell me. So my point is it too stupid to be stupid, or is this planned? And part of me, honest to God, feels like it's planned, man. And that would be the question I would ask. Am I that far married to my own ideology that I wonder, is this planned, or could it actually really have been planned? Well, I think oil will be priced in a currency that I think oil is being remonetized across the globe, and it's moving away from settling in US dollars. Ultimately, the price of oil goes much higher. Look, I mean, if I were just going to make a blanket statement about oil or about just about any asset. I would think that what we see would be a massive commodity boom, a commodity super cycle. But not just that, I think you could see the stock market go parabolic because the dollar is losing so much value.
You saw that at Weimar Republic. Everything went up.
But as the stock market goes higher and higher and higher, it actually loses ground in its relation to gold. And so I think that is the key takeaway here is that, if I had to guess, that's exactly what happens. And oil will be with it. It will go to the moon in a dollar that doesn't buy you as much. So I would think that things go higher than people think possible. But all of these things, whether we're talking about oil or gold, or oil or stock market, they all lose ground in relation to the price of gold or to the number of ounces of gold it would take to buy the Dow or a barrel of oil. Well, I mean, just trust your gut, man. It's time to be a contrarian. If you're not a contrarian, you're going to end up being a victim. And I do mean that. I wish I didn't. I have 3 kids, man. My youngest is 17. I think it's time to batten down the hatches and prepare, not just with gold and silver, have some small bills on hand, food and water, batteries, home protection. Just get ready, because if this all busts, the first thing we're going to see is a huge contraction of credit. And as credit contracts, I'll leave you with this last thought. Think of how much credit it takes to get a loaf of bread to the store. I've said this recently on a few shows. The farmer who plants the seeds to grow the wheat and buy the combine and the diesel fuel, well, he's on credit. And he tills the field and harvests the crop, and he has all this wheat, and he gives it to a trucking company who's on credit to finance the trucks and pay the salaries and the diesel fuel and whatnot, who brings it to the flour mill, who's on credit to run operations, who then gives it back to a different trucking company who's on credit, and then brings it to the baker who's on credit to bake bread and keep his operation going, who then gives it to another trucking company who's on credit, who then brings it to the grocery store who uses credit to stock their shelves. The amount of credit that touches just a loaf of bread from start to finish is extraordinary. And you start to see banks fail and things get crazy and banks start to contract and credit to contract. And you got all these banks that are loaded with commercial real estate loans that are blowing up. You need to prepare and hope you never need to, what's the worst thing that happens? You give your food to a food shelf or eat it. You drink your water. You never fire your gun. You give your gold and silver to your kids. You're prepared. Start now. You're late in the game. Start now. Hope you never need to be prepared, but damn it, you'll be really happy if you are. And it could be a very big problem if you're not. That would be my thought, because after what I saw Saturday, watching it live, and as far as I'm concerned, we're on the cusp of nothing surprising me.